Hey guys, Solomon here with the Progressive West. In the car again because I just feel the most comfortable here a lot of the times. Just sitting in a parking lot. Listen, I do believe what I put in the title, which is that a civil war is brewing in the United States. And I don't come on here to say that as an alarmist or to exaggerate. And I'm not talking about like the first civil war where there's two front lines with people with slightly different blue outfits, and they're all shooting muskets at each other. It's not going to look like that. Um, it's going to look a lot more like modern conflicts, like modern civil wars, where it's like people are doing guerrilla warfare and rising up against the government successfully or unsuccessfully in various different factional groups in various different hot spots all over the country. There's not going to be a front line in the United States because it's going to happen everywhere and it's going to happen in little tiny ways. But I mean, I'm watching everything with the same eyes as everyone else. Everyone else is looking out at the world right now and all the ICE killings and all the ICE violence, and they're seeing and feeling the same thing I'm feeling. So Renee Good was murdered by ICE, and everyone has seen the video by now. And people are tired of seeing extrajudicial killings on their phones. Shocker. People are tired of watching families get rounded up and thrown into a jail cell and thrown into a detention facility where they keep the lights on 24/7 and where people get raped and where people get neglected and people die from the neglect. There's already been over 30 people that have died in ICE custody. And Renee Good was just the first person that got shot basically on camera. And it was a clear-cut case of this person just shot her straight in the face, like for basically no good reason. And everyone can see the video for themselves. And I don't need to argue that to my 40 subscribers that are already with me on that issue. But look, everyone is seeing what's going on. And the amount of bloodlust that I'm fucking seeing from typical like normie liberals is a little bit frightening. It's also a little bit encouraging. So, I mean, like these days after Charlie Kirk got shot, you had these videos of these old ladies protesting, and there was that one conservative talk show girl going up and asking them questions, and these ladies are like, "I'm glad he got shot. Like he got what was coming to him," and you would never get that kind of attitude just like 2 years ago from these people, but they have had enough. Now it's your moms who have spent their lives cutting the crust off of peanut butter jelly sandwiches that are lusting for the blood of the bourgeoisie in the fucking streets. And especially after a white woman, Renee Good, gets killed, that's gonna that's gonna piss off a lot of white folks. But I don't want to say that it's just because she's white. I don't really believe that. Like I said, I think it's because it's just a clear-cut case of somebody who was innocent who was getting shot, and they were literally not doing anything wrong. They were trying to get out of the area, actually. Because, I mean, George Floyd sparked insane outrage across this country, and, white people were pretty upset about that. Obviously, it didn't culminate in much of a change to anything, but it still was one of the largest protest movements to exist in the United States history. In the Trump administration, before the extrajudicial killing of a mother in the streets of Minneapolis, was already sparking historic protests. The largest protest in U.S. history was the No Kings protest, the most recent one. And now the protests are going to be even more, popular to go to, and they're going to be armed to the teeth with Black Panthers and people who are all of a sudden realizing that they need to get arms and stuff like that. And I said this in my previous video about fascism winning. That look, we're literally cooked. We are literally fucked unless we do a revolution. I'm not fucking joking. And I think people can feel it. The amount of lefty people that are in the comments of Instagram videos talking about their Second Amendment rights is historically levels of high. You know, like lefty people are rightfully so pissed off about the gun legislation in this country. And of course they've spent their entire political lives talking about how dangerous guns are because we've lived through so many mass shootings and mass killings, and it's happening every single fucking day that people are dying from gun violence. So rightfully so, they're pissed off about the state of guns in this country. However, that is a far-flung thought in our minds at this point, because we are looking at straight up fascism that is already here, and getting good common sense gun legislation is far from anything that's possible right now, because it didn't happen in the last Democratic administration. And now we have the pedophile fucking Epstein best friend dude who's running our country again, and is sicking his dogs on the American public. So people are putting their issues with gun violence aside for the moment, and they're getting themselves armed to the teeth. Or at least I hope they are. Again, I agree with somebody's take on protests, which is that protests are supposed to be an implied threat. So otherwise you're literally just shouting into the void, like I'm doing right here on my YouTube channel. Being out at a protest is supposed to imply we have enough people that we are going to force you to do what we want. And if you don't, then, you know, you're going to get what's coming to you, basically. That is what a protest has always historically supposed to have been. But in the United States, we have gotten so used to just protesting with no kind of threat in mind. And then we sort of wonder why nothing ever changes. We wonder why one of the largest U.S. Protest movements in history, Black Lives Matter, didn't result in any national gun legislation or police brutality legislation. I mean, there was no change. There was absolutely nothing. There was like little tiny things here and there. It's because the politicians don't give a fuck. They do not give a fuck about you marching around and yelling into the fucking air. They don't give a fuck. They would give a fuck if everybody did it. Only in that case. In the case that everybody does it, and everybody's nonviolent, and everyone's really angry, and everyone is basically occupying the government buildings until the politicians basically give up and say, like, we resign, I'm sorry, like they did in Nepal. Then that's what it would take. So, but in absence of that, when there's fewer people who are doing the active work, you have to sort of give them a little bit more oomph, you know, a little bit more firepower, if you will. So I support the Black Panthers coming back and protecting protesters with guns. I support people arming themselves and learning how to use a weapon. I don't own a gun. I can't afford a gun, and I don't think my roommates would want me to have a gun. It's a discussion I could have with them at some point. However, not at this point. But the time has come, because they are coming door to door looking for migrants. This is literally Anne Frank. People are harboring Anne Frank in their house right now. There's some little girl out there writing a diary, but it's being written here. I stole that from somebody I saw online. However, it's true. Yeah, I mean, so it's coming. And so midterms are on their way also this year. So you can't vote your way out of fascism, but it doesn't hurt. And I just need people to prepare for the worst, because I think what one person was predicting was that, well, it's going to be a blue tsunami because of the massive fucking backlash that this administration is producing. The Democrats are going to take hold of the House and the Senate. However, half the Democrats are utterly useless. So although we're going to get Democrats in power, you still are going to be kind of waiting around for them to do something of any kind of consequence. However, best case scenario, they impeach and convict Donald Trump and remove him from office. Tried that a couple times. It didn't fucking work, I guess. Did it. But, you know, a boy can dream. And then Trump is not going to leave. He's not going to leave. He's not going to give up power. He's going to fight tooth and nail to stay in power, unless by some miraculous miracle he just croaks randomly. So I don't know what else to say except for I'm pissed, and like my nervous system has been like fried. Like I cannot actually express to you how like livid I've felt just like sitting around doom scrolling and just like seeing this stuff happening and not feeling able to do anything about it. I've signed up to be a quick responder for if ICE is spotted in my area. So the rapid response. So I would recommend you get signed up to be a rapid response for ICE. Yeah. And I'll probably get put on the fucking domestic terrorist list for even making this video. So that's great. FBI, fuck you. And come fucking get me. Because I am Antifa and I am fucking spreading dangerous ideas about your government and your fascistic fucking bullshit. It needs to be opposed and it needs to go. So, come and fucking get me, bitch. Okay, I'm just going to clip this in also because I was just watching the footage back of what I just said, and I just want to be really clear about something. I'm not saying that you should just go out and shoot ICE agents. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that people have a right to defend themselves. And it says in the Constitution itself, you can tell me if I'm wrong. You do your own reading of the Constitution, but you tell me what the Second Amendment says. And you tell me what it meant when the founders said that we have a right to abolish government when it's not serving the people. We have a right to abolish it and to rewrite it. Remake it in our own image. That is what I'm asking us to do. So the Civil War is going to be fought on many fronts. It's going to be fought and you can join whatever front you want. You can join the Black Panthers, and I would encourage it. You can just do community service. You can do mutual aid. You could donate money to people who are doing those things. You can keep speaking out. You can keep being loud. You can protest. You can do whatever you are called to do. And the Civil War will be fought on many fronts, but seriously, the violence is coming from the state. It's coming from the state, and people have had enough. And you shouldn't be surprised to see people fighting back. That is exactly what you should expect. So, yeah. In addition, I'll say that this is just a warning. It's not exactly a prescription, right? It's just saying that, like, the state is going to become increasingly more violent, and you're going to see increasing political violence across this country. And not that that's like a shock or a surprise to basically anybody, but it's of note at least. So, people are going to be faced with a choice at some point. When it's at your door, when it's ICE locking up your neighbors or your family, when guns are being pointed in your face, people are going to be faced with the choice of whether or not they're going to participate in that violence, or if they're going to take a nonviolent route, or they're going to do something else. Maybe they're going to flee. Some people might have to make the choice to leave this country and seek asylum in Canada or seek asylum in Mexico, especially talking about my brothers and sisters, the trans community, the people out there who are being persecuted the most are going to have to make that choice of whether to stay or to go. So that is the reality of a war, a civil war, internal conflict. It means people get moved from their homes. It means people are pissed and angry, and there is going to be unspeakable things done that should never have happened. But we all have to face our own conscience at the end of the day and do the calculus in our heads about what we're willing to do and what we're not willing to do. And what values we're going to fight for and what values we're going to let slip. So, It's not fucking pretty. Just stay safe out there, everybody. Stay safe. This is Solomon from the Progressive West, signing off.